If you've walked into a grocery store recently, I mean, you've probably noticed it, right? This quiet revolution happening in the dairy aisle.
Oh, absolutely.
Plant-based beverages, soy, oat, rice, almond, they've just exploded. They're everywhere.
Lining every single shelf, yeah.
And it feels like more than just a trend. People seem to be genuinely looking for alternatives to cow's milk, for a whole host of reasons. So what's really behind this massive shift? And maybe more importantly, what are these alternatives actually offering us? And, well, do we really need any of them?
That's a great way to frame it. For so many people, this journey away from cow's milk, it often starts with maybe one specific health concern or just curiosity, right?
Yeah.
But it quickly opens up into this much broader landscape of choices and, frankly, a lot of confusion and questions.
All right.
So our mission today is really to try and cut through all that noise. We're going to dive deep into your sources, the articles, the research, your notes, and help you understand what's truly important, what matters when you're making these kinds of decisions for yourself.
Right. Aiming for those aha moments, maybe,
Right.
without getting totally swamped by information.
Exactly. No information overload, just clarity.
Okay, so let's start with why. Why are so many people even considering stepping away from cow's milk? Our sources point to, well, a really diverse set of motivations.
Yeah.
It's not always just a clear-cut allergy or intolerance thing, is it?
No, you're absolutely right. The reasons are incredibly varied.
Right.
And your sources really highlight that it's often not just one single thing.
Okay.
So yeah, lactose intolerance is common, sure. But lots of people are also looking into how dairy might impact other parts of their health.
Like what?
Well, things like skin conditions, maybe respiratory issues, or even just, subtle digestive discomfort that they can't quite pin down. And then you've got concerns around specific bits in the milk itself, like certain fats or cholesterol, or even pro-inflammatory arachidonic acid.
That's specific omega-6, right. That some research links to inflammation.
Precisely. And of course, we can't forget the significant ethical side of things. For many people, animal welfare concerns.
That's a really broad range. And I guess once those reasons start piling up, the big question becomes, okay, so what do I drink instead?
Exactly. And that's where this whole landscape of options just explodes, making it super important to actually understand the different categories and, well, what they really offer.
Now, when someone first starts looking, I think the first thing that often pops into their head is lactose-free milk.
Yeah, seems logical.
And it's so easy to assume, like skim milk just has the fat taken out, that lactose-free milk just has lactose removed. But the way it's actually made is quite surprising, isn't it?
It really is. Most people think lactose removed, but that's actually really expensive and difficult to do on a large scale. So instead, it's more of a clever chemical workaround. They add an enzyme called lactase to regular cow's milk.
Add it in.
Yep. See, lactose itself, it's a disaccharide.
Right.
Basically, two smaller sugar units joined together, glucose and galactose.
Right.
And people with lactose intolerance, they usually lack enough of the natural lactase enzyme needed to break those two apart in their gut.
Okay.
So by adding lactase to the milk itself, either before it's sterilized or just before packaging, the enzyme basically pre-digests the lactose. It breaks it down into glucose and galactose right there in the carton.
So the work is already done before you even drink it.
Exactly. So your body finds it much easier to tolerate.
Okay, so that explains why it often tastes sweeter then. Because those sugars are separate.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Glucose and galactose on their own have a higher sweetening power than when they're linked as lactose. And yeah, it generally makes it more expensive than standard milk.
So, thinking practically, for someone who only has lactose intolerance, is there a big advantage to this over just, say, taking a lactase pill with regular milk, which might be cheaper?
That's a fair point. Really the sole benefit of lactose-free milk is better lactose tolerance without needing that separate pill.
Got it.
But, and this is key, if your goal is to avoid other things in cow's milk, like the proteins, specific fats, hormones, whatever, then lactose-free cow's milk isn't the answer.
Because it's still cow's milk.
It's still cow's milk, just with the lactose pre-digested.
Right.
In that situation, yeah, you definitely need to look at completely different options.
Right, which brings us squarely to that first and arguably most popular category these days, plant-based beverages.
The big one.
When someone decides to step away from cow's milk, they're usually looking for something that, looks similar, maybe has a familiar kind of texture, a taste that's not too weird.
And ideally some nutrients too, right?
Yeah, ideally. And wow, the market has definitely responded. The variety is just incredible.
It really is. And while the basic idea, soak something, blend it, strain it, sounds simple enough,
Yeah.
What your sources really dig into is how that process changes when you do it on an industrial scale. What gets added, what might get lost along the way.
Okay, it's important.
And these drinks, they come from all sorts of plant groups, right? Cereals like oat, spelt, rice, seeds like flax or hemp, nuts, hazelnut, almond, walnut, and legumes like soy, even cashew or peanut.
Just an amazing range.
The sheer variety now is just proof of how much people want these options.
Okay, so before you run out and stock the fridge with a dozen different cartons, it sounds like there are maybe 4 really crucial things we need to keep in mind from our sources when picking one.
Absolutely. Key signposts, definitely.
What are they?
Okay, first, taste and texture vary wildly, immensely.
Right.
So don't commit to a huge batch before you've tried a small amount. Find what actually works for you.
Good advice. What's second?
Second, they often have a shorter shelf life than regular cow's milk. So always, always check that expiration date. Avoid waste.
Makes sense. Third.
Third, because of how they're made, the sort of solid bits tend to settle at the bottom.
Ah, yeah, you see that.
So a good shake before you pour is essential. Make sure everything's mixed properly, you get the right consistency, the nutrients.
Okay. And the last one. Sounds like it might be the most important.
It really is. This is critical. Just because a label screams vegetal or plant-based does not automatically mean it's healthy.
Ah.
Your sources are really strong on this warning. Many plant-based drinks can actually contain stuff that's not great or even harmful if you're drinking large amounts.
Okay, wow. So given that, the label is basically our roadmap through this plant-based jungle, right?
Absolutely, it's your map.
What are the specific things we need to be scanning for? The red flags on those labels.
You're spot on. The label is everything. First, be super vigilant about sweeteners.
Even if it says sugar-free.
Especially then. Sugar-free might just mean no regular table sugar, sucrose, but it could easily have other sweeteners snuck in: maltodextrin, fructose syrup, sometimes even lactose itself or maltose.
Oh, okay. What else?
You also need to watch for flavorings, which can be artificial. Thickeners, things like gums, which, yeah, they improve texture, but in large amounts, they can cause digestive upset, diarrhea, mess with your intestinal transit time.
Meaning how fast things move through.
Exactly. And also look out for acidity regulators or pH stabilizers like phosphates. They're just additives to keep the drink stable on the shelf.
So the ideal choice is?
Ideally, find a plant-based beverage with basically no added sweeteners and none of these other unnecessary additives, just the plant, water, maybe a pinch of salt.
Got it. Label literacy is key. Okay, let's dive into the specifics then, the 5 most consumed ones. First up, soy milk. Often seen as the protein champion of the plant-based world, right?
It's true, yeah. Generally, it does pack the most protein punch. However, your sources point out some notable potential drawbacks. For some people, it can be quite heavy, intestinally speaking.
Okay.
And there's some suggestion it could potentially even damage intestinal cells in sensitive individuals. It's also a known allergen, right? So it can trigger the immune system, potentially promote allergic reactions. And this is important, particularly for kids and males. It contains isoflavones.
Those are the plant estrogens.
Phytoestrogens, yeah. Plant-derived compounds that can sort of mimic female sex hormones and potentially interfere with hormonal balance.
Are the sources pretty aligned on how serious those effects are, or is there debate?
The sources we looked at mainly present these as known concerns, things to be aware of, especially if you're consuming a lot, or for certain sensitive groups. Definitely something to keep in mind.
Okay, good to know. Moving on then, oat milk. Another huge one. Super popular. Known for good protein, second only to soy, maybe. And fiber. Makes it filling.
It does, yeah. Good protein, good fiber content, definitely satiating. However, a point that's maybe less discussed is that it's considered mucogenic.
Mucogenic.
It means it can promote mucus production, so potentially leading to more congestion or discomfort, especially if you're already prone to things like sinusitis.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
And then there's the gluten issue. Even though pure oats are naturally gluten-free,
Yeah.
oat milk production, especially large scale, carries a real risk of cross-contamination with gluten.
From shared equipment or facilities.
Exactly. And what's more, oats contain a protein called avenin. Biochemically, it's quite similar to gluten, and it can cause similar gut symptoms in some gluten-sensitive people.
So even if it says gluten-free oat milk?
If you have severe gluten intolerance, like celiac disease, your sources strongly advise caution, maybe even avoidance, just to be safe.
That's a really critical detail. Okay, next. Rice milk. Compared to soy and oat, it's got less fat, less protein. It sounds like a negative, but maybe it isn't.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? That lower fat and protein content can actually be a benefit for some people. It makes it really easy to digest and assimilate.
Okay.
It's often very well tolerated, potentially good for intestinal health. Plus, it provides some tryptophan, some B vitamins good for energy, nervous system balance.
But there's a however coming, isn't there?
There is, and it's a significant one. We have to be really careful with rice milk because of the potential for heavy metal accumulation, specifically arsenic.
Arsenic.
From pesticides and herbicides used in growing the rice industrially. This is particularly a concern with brown rice, which absorbs more from the soil.
Wow.
So your sources are really emphatic about this. If you choose rice milk, definitely go for organic to minimize that risk.
Is that concern serious enough that non-organic is generally just not recommended, even for healthy adults?
The sources we reviewed treated it as a significant enough risk, yes, to strongly recommend organic across the board, especially thinking about how often someone might drink it as a daily alternative.
Right. Cumulative exposure.
Okay.
Next, coconut milk. And just to be clear, this isn't the watery stuff inside a young coconut.
Exactly, that's coconut water. Coconut milk, the kind used as a beverage, comes from the thick, white pulp of the mature fruit. It's much creamier.
Got it. And what's interesting about this one?
Well, it's pretty rich in minerals like magnesium and iron, but its unique selling point, perhaps, is lauric acid.
Lauric acid.
Yeah, it's a type of fatty acid that seems to play a role in supporting immune system function and also in the proper contraction and dilation of blood vessel walls, so good for defenses and cardiovascular health.
Interesting. Okay, last of the big five, almond milk. Often talked about for fiber, calcium, phosphorus content.
Indeed. It can be beneficial for gut health, generally considered a good option, even for children and during pregnancy. Big plus. No cow's milk proteins, no gluten, no lactose naturally.
Huge advantage for many people.
Absolutely. However, remember our label chat.
Yes. Don't get caught out.
Exactly. It's crucial to check that lactose hasn't been snuck in as a sweetener. It sounds weird, but some brands might add it for flavor or mouthfeel. Always read the label.
Always read the label. Okay, that's a fantastic run-through of the plant-based big hitters. But what if someone still wants an animal-based milk? Just, not from a cow. Are there other good choices there?
Yes, absolutely. Your sources highlight goat and sheep milk as really excellent alternatives in this category.
Why is that?
Well, nutritionally, they're very complete, very well-rounded. And crucially, they tend to be easier to digest than cow's milk for many people.
Easier digestion, okay. Anything else?
Yes, a key point we found is that their specific proteins, unlike some types of casein in cow's milk, don't seem to cause the same kind of intestinal lining irritation or stimulate that inflammatory cascade nearly as much.
That's a pretty significant difference.
It is. It means they're often much better tolerated and potentially a healthier choice for lots of individuals.
But I'm guessing there's still some practical things to consider. It's not all smooth sailing.
No, you're right. Two main things. First, they do still contain lactose.
So not for the lactose intolerant.
Correct. Not suitable if lactose is your primary issue. And second, they usually cost more than cow's milk, and they can definitely be harder to find in regular grocery stores compared to cow's milk or even the popular plant milks. Availability and price can be hurdles.
Okay. So we've covered a ton of ground on alternatives. Lactose-free cow's milk, the whole plant-based universe, other animal milks. But this kind of brings us to what your sources called the third alternative, which feels like a really fundamental question.
Yeah.
Do we actually need to drink milk at all as adults?
Yes. Stepping back to look at the bigger picture, and look, it's important to state up front. Cow's milk is a very nutritious food. It's packed with protein, fats, carbs, vitamins, minerals, no denying that.
Okay.
However, your sources are pretty consistent on this. Consuming milk, especially cow's milk, outside those critical periods of growth and development, well, it's associated with numerous health issues for many people.
So for healthy adults?
For healthy adults who are eating a varied natural diet, getting all their necessary nutrients from other foods, fruits, vegetables, proteins, whole grains, fats milk is just not an indispensable food. You don't need it.
Okay, not essential for adults. But what about kids? That seems like a really crucial distinction to make.
Oh, absolutely critical. For infants who can't be breastfed or whose mothers can't lactate, the absolute best option is specialized infant formula.
Which is usually cow's milk based, but adapted.
Exactly. Derived from cow's milk, but meticulously modified for their specific nutritional needs. Giving nutrient-poor plant beverages to infants is dangerous. It can lead to serious health and development problems. That's a
Yeah.
totally different scenario.
Right. Very important distinction.
But for adults, the question really hangs there. If it's not strictly necessary from a nutritional standpoint, why are we still drinking it or seeking replacements for it?
That is a really thought-provoking question, isn't it? Is it just habit, custom, something we grew up doing and never stopped? Or do we genuinely believe deep down that we need it for certain nutrients, even though, as our sources suggest, a balanced adult diet covers those bases? Or is it maybe something more emotional? Like, is milk tied to feelings of comfort or care or, I don't know, protection?
That's a fascinating angle.
Or maybe it's just simpler. We just like the taste, or it's a treat, or it adds variety to what we eat and drink.
Yeah.
It feels like there could be a lot going on under the surface there.
Precisely. And what really stands out from that perspective is this. If our reasons for drinking milk or for wanting an alternative aren't actually rooted in vital health or nutritional requirements,
Yeah.
then the challenge isn't really about finding a replacement for some essential food we're missing. It completely shifts the focus. It becomes about finding something that maybe fulfills a habit or satisfies an emotional desire or just meets a preference for enjoyment and variety.
It totally reframes the whole search, doesn't it?
And it makes us look at our choices in a fundamentally different light.
Wow. Okay, that was a truly insightful deep dive. Seriously. We've journeyed from, understanding all those varied reasons people might leave cow's milk. We busted the myth about how lactose-free milk is made. We navigated that huge, complex, sometimes tricky world of plant-based drinks, the pros, the cons, those absolutely vital label reading tips.
Don't forget the shake.
Right. Don't forget to shake it. We even looked at goat and sheep milk. And then, we hit that ultimate foundational question. Do we actually need milk as adults anyway?
Yeah.
Hopefully this whole exploration has given you, the listener, the tools and knowledge to make choices that really line up with your own health, your values, your preferences, kind of moving past the marketing hype to understand the real science and what it means for you.
And maybe this leaves you with an important question to chew on. If our desire for milk or its alternatives isn't always strictly about nutrition, but sometimes about habit or comfort or just simple enjoyment, what other routines or comforts or habits in your own daily life could you maybe re-examine with that same kind of critical but curious lens? What new insights might pop up about the choices you make, perhaps without even thinking too much about them?
Keep diving deep with us and definitely keep asking those important questions.